Welcome back to Cooking at Nanook Lodge. Today, we're going to make homemade meat sauce. It's a spaghetti sauce that's my go-to. I always make double batch so I can put some in the freezer. And I'm going to show you an adaptation of a recipe that was taught to me many years ago by my good friend Vittorio Renda. He's from Calabria, which is the toe of the boot of Italy. And this is a recipe from his family's, and I've kind of made a little bit of an adaptation to it. But we're going to show you how I make homemade meat sauce. It's pretty simple, not too many ingredients. We're going to use some carrots, celery, onions. I'm using yellow today, but you can use white. Peeled garlic. I love the Christopher Ranch already peeled pouches that you can get at the grocery store. Makes it so easy to just cut open and use, and you don't have to futz with all the garlic. We're going to use ground beef, a little bit of salt, and then we're going to use some red wine. I'm using a red wine today from a winery that's just not too far from here called Cana's Feast. It's a wine that I like to drink. So you always want to use for your meat sauce, you want to use a wine that you love to drink. That doesn't have to be super expensive at all, but don't use something that's just kind of like cooking bad wine, or I didn't like this at all, I'm going to save it and cook with it, because that just makes your dish as bad as the wine is. So use something that you like to drink, but it doesn't have to be expensive. And then we're going to use some tomato product. It's crushed tomatoes. This is a 28-ounce can of crushed tomatoes. You can buy them at any brand in your grocery store. I also do can my tomatoes every fall, and so we typically, when I make spaghetti sauce, I'm using my own canned tomatoes, and then a little bit of tomato paste. We'll finish it all off with just a little bit of butter when we're ready to go. So spaghetti meat sauce is traditionally a sauce that comes from Italy. Sometimes you'll hear it called Bolognese. It comes from the Emilia-Romagna region of Italy, and it can encompass veal or beef or pork or all three in a sauce. Typically has some milk or some cream in it. And so that's why I say we'll finish it with just a little butter when we've got it all down and reduced to the way we want it. But let's start cooking our version. All right, I've prepared the veggies just in a real rough chop. Doesn't have to be pretty, doesn't have to be exact, because we're going to put them in the food processor, grind them all up to a real fine piece, and then we'll add them to the pot and get them sauteing. So here we go. I like to always just turn the food processor off and kind of just push the big chunks down from the side. Make sure they get all nice and ground up in there so you don't have any big chunks. You'll appreciate that later. One thing I forgot earlier with all the ingredients is you're going to start with a little bit of olive oil. Doesn't have to be extra virgin olive oil. In fact, you probably shouldn't cook with the really good stuff, because that flavor will get lost in the bottom of the pot. So just some regular old olive oil, or even some soybean oil or canola oil. But I love using olive oil because this is an Italian dish. All right, let's get the rest of them all ground up and ready for the pot. All these little bits. See why it doesn't have to be an exact measurement of anything when you're cutting. You just want to take all the peels off and cut them all up. Throw the garlic in whole. You're going to let the food processor do all the work for you. Easy breezy. Remember, I'm making a double batch, that's why I had to do this twice. You'll only have to run it through the food processor once if you're making a single batch. So while our meat and our veggies are cooking so that the meat cooks completely through so we can strain it all out, let me tell you a little bit more about this sauce. Meat sauce, or Bolognese sauce, comes from the region of Emilia-Romagna in Italy, and the chief city in Emilia-Romagna is Bologna, or Bolognese sauce. It's the home of that Bolognese sauce. It's also the home to tortellini, or tortelloni when you make the big ones. I've been fortunate enough to visit Bologna a couple of times in my life, and I can tell you it's just as beautiful as some of the big cities that a lot of tourists go to. Emilia-Romagna is a wealth of farming communities and home to lots of other Italian things that you probably are familiar with. Balsamic vinegar comes from the town of Modena. Prosciutto di Parma comes from Parma, as does Parmigiano Reggiano. And for all you car buffs out there, Emilia-Romagna is also home to Maserati and Ferrari. Cheers. So why am I sharing the recipe for Bolognese sauce with you at this time of the year? Well, meat sauce or Bolognese sauce is always great during the winter because it's hearty and it fills you up, and it's a great dish. You can use it for just simply tossing with spaghetti or penne pasta and a little bit of grated Parmigiano on the top. You can cook off your penne noodles or some short noodle like that and toss it with the meat sauce and then put it in the oven with a little mozzarella on the top, and you've got a pasta bake. Simple and easy to do. But the reason I'm sharing it with you is because it's a special meal in our household. My partner Shelly, whenever it's her birthday or Valentine's Day, she ask her what she wants for dinner. She always says, "Can I please have spaghetti?" So I always make homemade meat sauce for Valentine's Day, and her birthday is in March. So we always have spaghetti and Bolognese sauce for her birthday and for Valentine's Day. And that's why it's a special recipe to us and special in our household. So happy birthday, honey. This one's for you. So now that I'm reheating the sauce for dinner, I add just a little bit of butter in there to bring the creaminess and the richness to life to the sauce.